You have your right to be picky when it comes to dating. You want to date someone you're attracted to, obviously. But if that's the only thing you're worried about, it ain't gonna work. And then you wonder why you're single at 34 and on Pop the Balloon on YouTube. Good morning, everybody. It is Random Wednesday on the OCG Soapbox, as I wanted to have some different topics to talk about today. And I thought, why not go online to Reddit and the message boards and find some interesting topics that people are talking about? And yes, some message boards out there are still alive and well. It's not just Reddit. What I don't like about Reddit is I don't believe half the stories are real. But I do have a couple topics from Reddit today, but also some other message boards. They all happen to be kind of relationship oriented today in a way, which is whatever. I'm going to give my opinions, not saying I'm an expert in the least, but I also want all of your opinions in the comments. Now, this is pre-recorded, not live, so I would like you to leave a comment. Well, all your opinions on today's topics in the comments, if and when you end up watching this video. So the first topic comes from a message board, and it is about people being addicted to their smartphones. And this guy is complaining about everyone in his life always being on their smartphone, but especially his wife, apparently, who her phone can never even keep a charge because she is on it so often, and it distracts them when they're trying to do something together, when they're out together on her cell phone. And this is a problem for everyone, I think. And it is a topic that actually does irk me. Now, I'm not saying I'm never on my phone, because that would be a lie. But when going out with people, I try to be on it as less as possible, especially if we're out at a public place. I feel like, why are we even out at a public place if we're just going to be on our phones? Like, what's the point? We could be doing that at home. So why are we out doing the same thing? And even just a couple of weeks ago, it was a date night. I was out and I looked around the restaurant, and it wasn't that busy of a night, but everyone else there was also couples. And I felt like me and my girl were the only couple not on our damn phones, which is great, which is probably why our date nights go so well. But watching everyone else on their phones, it was kind of awkward to see. And in that scenario, I saw it was more the guys in the relationships that were on their phones, like almost the entire time, just distracted by their phones. Barely even having conversations with their girl who they're out with. And I'm just like, why are you even going out then? You're kind of just wasting money going out to a place to eat and drink when you're distracted by your phones. So this is a problem. And it does annoy me when I'm out with people and they're on their phones too much. Now, people are so addicted these days to their phones that they're going to be on it sometimes. But if it's the whole time, it is disrespectful. I don't know what the solution is. I have thought myself about having these outings where the rule has to be putting your phones away, because I feel like that's the only way to make it work. Everyone you're going out with has to agree to put your damn phones away for at least a set amount of time, whether it's just 1 hour, whether it's 2 hours. How do we, as a society, get people away from their phones so that they don't have to feel like they have to check it every 5 to 10 minutes? And I'm not saying I don't sometimes do that, but when I'm out, I try not to. At home, it's going to probably be a different case. Although most of the time, I'm probably more addicted to a computer because I'm on it all the time editing for this channel. But the phone stuff, I wish would get better as a society. I don't know the solution. But if you and your life are going out all the time and you're on your phones too much and it's supposed to be a date, I need to know why. Why in the comments are you going on dates if you're just going to be on your phone with your man? Or in my case, when I saw it a couple weeks ago, the men were on their phones more so than the women. and just completely distracted by their phones the whole night. So it's gross, and I want to hear all your thoughts, any solutions in the comments, or opinions on people being addicted to their phones. I'm sure older people, sometimes my videos skew older people. I'm sure they feel even more strongly about this than I do. But I will say it's not just younger people. Like, I feel like in the 20s, the later 20s are already pretty bad. The mid 20s are even worse. Early 20s are probably phone addicts. But I know a lot of older people in my life, in my family, who also are on their phones a lot in public places. So it's not just young people, though. A lot of people are cell phone addicts right now. Next topic of conversation is about a guy whose girlfriend has a male best friend. This is a topic that has been going on as long as I can remember on message boards. Having a friend of the opposite sex. Now, this is a very long post, so I'm not going to read the post, but just kind of give basic info. So this guy, they're both 25, the guy and the girl, and the guy's girlfriend have been together for quite a few years now. They've been together since college, since they were 20, so they've been dating for 5 years. And apparently this friend of hers, they were friends before these two even got in a relationship. So they've been friends since high school, this girl and her guy friend. I think this guy in the relationship has problems with the girl's friend because they do text a lot and they seem to talk a lot online. And that's where the jealousy issues seem to be coming from. Now, for me personally, I just feel like in our 20s is when we're at our most like overthinking, have our most insecurities. Like a lot of that happens in teen life too, I guess. But for me, when I was a teenager, I had a lot of friends of the opposite sex, actually. And there were a few that I had a crush on and was probably in a friend zone. But I had no problems having friends of the opposite sex as a teenager in like high school. Now, as I got older, I felt like in my 20s, if you would have asked me in my early to mid 20s, can guys and girls be just friends? I probably would have said no. Because at the time, as a guy in his 20s, I would have felt like, well, if I'm friends with a woman, the odds are I'm attracted to the woman. The odds are I just want to bang, right? But the older I get, the less I do feel that way. I do feel like now that I'm in my 30s, it is easier to be friends with women. And maybe it is because when guys are younger, I do feel like a lot of guys have trouble with seeing women as like well-rounded humans and not just people that they either want to have sex with or not have sex with. And that is the problems with some guys in their 20s or just when they're younger in general. In this scenario, the problem seems to be the amount of texting that they're doing, I guess. I do wonder if that would bother me in a relationship. I think it depends on the trust in your relationships, though. Because, like, if you have the trust in your relationship, if they've never given you a reason to feel like they might be cheating behind your back or something, then I don't know if you should have that insecurity necessarily. I also feel like, and this is generalizing, but women text a lot more with their friends than guys do. At least me, anyway. Because I might go weeks, if not months, without texting some of my friends. And I feel like some girls text their friends multiple times a week, if not even more often than that. Also with this story, though, the fact that the girl was friends with the guy before this relationship even started makes me assume that they've never gone further than just being friends. I think it comes down to boundaries and whatever boundaries you have in your relationship. But if the question is, should you trust your partner to be a friend with the opposite sex? I think yes, unless they've given you a reason to not do so. It also, I guess, depends on how one thinks about emotional cheating and those boundaries in your relationship. For me, I've never quite understood emotional cheating. And I think I'm going to try and look up a definition of emotional cheating so that we can get a clear cut definition of what it is. And I'm not going to use AI, so fuck you, Google. Let's find an actual website. Emotional cheating is the forming of a deep emotional bond with someone other than your partner, which threatens the emotional intimacy of your primary relationship. It often involves sharing personal thoughts, romantic feelings, or secrets with this other person that in a monogamous relationship we reserve for our partner. This form of infidelity doesn't involve physical intimacy, whether that be kissing or having sex, unlike a physical affair. And since deception and secrecy are key defining factors of emotional infidelity, the concept isn't synonymous with an open relationship, which is mutually agreed upon. So their definition here is you are having a deep emotional bond with someone other than your partner, which is why I still think it goes back to what are your boundaries in your relationship when it comes to other people, I guess. And I guess if you are secretly closer to someone than you're letting on, I can see how that might be emotional cheating if your partner doesn't know just the deep conversations you're having with a friend. In this scenario, though, that the guy is asking, the guy clearly knows about the friend and has since the beginning of the relationship. So I think this guy's scenario is just an insecurity. I really do. And that's what happens in your 20s. In general, though, when it comes to relationships and having friends of the opposite sex, it depends on many different factors. There are the boundaries within your own relationships, but I would love to hear thoughts in the comments about opposite sex friends and opposite sex friends when you are in a relationship with someone else. What are the boundaries you think should be set in that? I'd also love to hear what emotional cheating is to you personally, because in some of these answers to this question, people were saying that the concept of emotional cheating is when you are talking to someone that's a friend of the opposite sex, and or at least in straight relationships, talking to someone of the opposite sex and like dogging your current partner and telling all of your problems in that relationship to this friend. I think that is an extreme form of emotional cheating. Yes. If you're doing that in a relationship, if you're telling your friend why your relationship sucks and dogging your partner to your friend, that's definitely a very negative thing to do. And I would say that is a betrayal for sure, in my opinion. Let's move on to a different question, though. So this is about a boyfriend admitting that he thinks he's out of his girlfriend's league. This 26-year-old girl had been dating this guy for 5 months, saying they get along really well, and she feels like she's a teenager again when they're together, and that he's a very attractive man, and that he's aware of that fact. Meanwhile, this girl has body dysmorphia, and some days she feels beautiful, and other days she feels very ugly. Well, I guess they posted a picture on Instagram together, and one of the comments said that he deserves better, which obviously crushed her, and the boyfriend blocked the user. But then she says, when I asked if he thought it was true, he seemed uncomfortable and eventually ended up telling me that he wasn't with me for my looks. And then she goes on to say, I feel like that's just something no girl wants to hear. I'm not sure how to move forward knowing he doesn't think I'm physically attractive. This man could get any girl he wants, and I'm confused if he wants to be with me. This is just another 20s relationship problem. But also, it is kind of a modern dating problem as a society where I feel like everyone thinks they can do better. Or you see a couple and you think, oh, that person could do better. Or you're in a relationship because you're insecure that they're going to find someone better. It's like a dating carousel of everyone trying to find someone better, not wanting to commit to relationships because they might find someone better. Even shows like Pop the Balloon, which I can't stand that show, plays into this as well. Like if this was a bunch of younger people on Pop the Balloon, I would understand, but sometimes they got people in their 30s and older and they still are looking for something on a very shallow level. That happens all the time on Pop the Balloon. It pisses me off. Everyone on that show is so damn picky. And I get you. You have your right to be picky when it comes to dating. You want to date someone you're attracted to, obviously. But if that's the only thing you're worried about, the shit ain't going to work. And then you wonder why you're single at 34 and on Pop the Balloon on fucking YouTube. I mean, I think this girl in this question is being very insecure because clearly he's with her for a reason. And maybe that reason is not 100% physical, but he must still have attraction towards her to be in this relationship for 5 months. And maybe he actually does want to connect on a deeper level. And if you're not connecting on things that aren't on a deeper level, then what is the point? If you're just connecting because you're attracted to each other, 9 times out of 10, if not more often, that's going to burn out. Or it's not just going to burn out, it's going to be a complete clusterfuck because you got nothing in common. So unfortunately, I think she is the one in this scenario being very insecure, dating a very attractive guy. Just dating a very attractive person sometimes will make a person insecure because why are they with me when they could be with someone better? You gotta love yourself sometimes too before you get into these relationships. Also, the concept of leagues has always been a touchy subject online when it comes to these dating forums. I mean, I do think leagues probably exist for a reason. There's going to be certain levels of attraction. But if you walk outside, especially if you live in a big city, you're going to see couples of every mix and match makeup. Sometimes the guy is probably more conventionally attractive. Sometimes the girl is probably more conventionally attractive. And there's been plenty of times in the past I've heard guys talking about, how is she with that guy? Well, clearly he's doing something right. And maybe you should learn how to do it instead of complaining about looks all the time. The last subject I wanted to talk about, it kind of goes into everything else, has been this article on how Gen Z women think having a boyfriend is embarrassing. And I think the headlines are more so a way to grab your attention. It's also kind of a way to make Gen Z look bad because everyone likes to try and make Gen Z look bad for whatever reason. So you would think coming into the article, it's going to be about how women are embarrassed about men and it's going to further divide the sexes going on. It's another thing being divided by society, much like everything else. The sexes are being divided too. But if you read the article, it's more about how Gen Z women don't like flaunting their relationships online. And we saw that, especially in my generation, flaunting your couplings on Facebook. Some couples would have joint Facebooks together, which I always thought was embarrassing, frankly. I will speak as a millennial. I do feel our generation loves love, sometimes a little too hard. But, a lot of the TV shows we grew up with were all about, relationships and these star-crossed lovers coming together. And I'm also a Pisces, so I will always love love. I want all the feelings. I mean, I watch soap operas, for God's sake, just for that. But if you go deep into this article, I can't disagree with how Gen Z women don't want to show off their guys online because they find it kind of embarrassing, and they don't like to be seen as how they are revolving their lives around a guy. They want to be seen as more independent. And I mean, that's fine. I've never flaunted my relationships online. I'm a very private person when it comes to personal things. So you kind of have to really pull things out of me when it comes to personal things, because I'm not just going to share it willy-nilly. So at the end of the day here with this article on Gen Z women, I think they kind of got it right. You shouldn't be oversharing on Facebook about your relationship because it just makes you look insecure. That's what all of us used to think in my generation when these couples were having their joint Facebook accounts. You look insecure. You look like you're trying to make your relationship seem better than it actually is. Now, I don't think that's what Gen Z women are necessarily saying here. They're coming from more of a perspective of they don't want to make it seem like they are putting these guys on a pedestal and their relationship is the main thing in their life, which is fine as well. Some other points they make is how some people viewing the posts could be jealous, which could impact their relationship. It could make the jealous people try and tear down their relationship. And when I was looking for topics to discuss today, I did come across something on Reddit about how this friend came around when this friend of a guy came around and saw that the guy's girlfriend was super hot and was trying to tell the guy, well, she's going to break up with you. This kind of falls into our last subject. He was really making his own friend insecure about his relationship because the friend, I guess, felt like the girl was out of this guy's league, making the guy worry about the girl when she was talking to anybody else. And so, yeah, sometimes, especially when you're younger, you don't want to share too much about your relationships because you never know who might be trying to cause problems for you. So I think this concept, when you look at the headlines, Gen Z women think boyfriends are embarrassing now, that's to cause a stir. It's to further divide the sexes. But when you read the article, it actually makes a lot of logical sense. But hope you all enjoyed today's Random Wednesday of topics from message boards and Reddit. And I hope you will leave your own opinions in the comments because I do want to hear what everyone has to say about today's relationship-y topics.